Hello there. I know, but it was the last day. Suppose you can get it done on Friday up until 6 o'clock. But basically, I thought, do I really want to look like Santa Claus this early in the season? Because I'm going to have to get a haircut. Obviously, the beard could still go, but well, the idea is just to get the hair ready for Christmas. So I went for a hairdresser. I went to the hairdressers. It was really, really funny. There were a lot of people going for a haircut today. I think Nicola Sturgeon's Tier 4 from Friday at 6 o'clock made everybody think, do I really want to go into Christmas with this haircut? And the answer was no. So there's a lot of people there. Um, my haircut's not the topic for today, the thought for the day. What I'm wanting to do today is just to kind of put the thought in your head to get ready for Advent in terms of buying something, a devotional, some kind of something that appeals to you that's going to take you through. Now, I'm going to show you what I've chosen because I'm going to be kind of reading it online and sort of basically stealing somebody else's ideas. But I've got one or two different resources, and so. But I was thinking, how do you actually kind of come into that? How do you start with the way things are in the world now, and then kind of sort of move over to don't let don't let your Christmas be hijacked by this secular world. Don't get lost in all the tinsel and baubles and decorations. And I didn't really know. And then, as usual, God just gives you a wee gift. I know it's early, but still, he gave me this little story. It's only 30 seconds long, but this is just really, really nice. Every year, like lots of places, there's a place in New York called the Rockefeller Center, and it's quite a kind of big space. And as a consequence, they have a big Christmas tree. So it's usually a kind of big event where they sort of switch on the lights and get the Christmas tree kind of in place. But this year, they got more than they bargained for.
Crews working on the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree got a little surprised. They found an owl tucked away in the branches. One of the workers got it and put it in a box safely. It's now at the Ravensbeard Wildlife Center up in Saugerties, upstate. Staffers identified it as a saw-whet owl, the smallest owl in the Northeast. It'll be cared for by workers there for a while and eventually will be released back into the wild. I mean, what do you say when you see that, right?
Very
Holy
cute
cow.
finds. Yeah.
So, my point is, the responsibility is yours. If you don't want to get to Boxing Day and think, was that it? If Advent is supposed to be something where we wait on God, then you have to realize we don't come to it with a kind of blank sheet of paper. If we don't actively make it focused on Christ and actually bring ourselves into kind of, making our own way, like the Magi and the shepherds, we have to make our own way to the stable. If we don't choose to do that, then there's lots of other kind of ways of looking at Christmas that will hijack you. Very much like that little owl. They will hijack your Christmas and turn it into something where it's actually quite appropriate to get to the end of a secular Christmas and say, was that it? And the answer is no, it's not. That wasn't it. But the point is, we never actively, intentionally made the decision to actually make it focused on Christ. So, what do we do to make it focused on Christ? We pick resources. Now, what I was going to say was, it's feasible. You may just be happy to let me do it and do it as a thought for the day, and we do it each morning. The thing is, what's obvious is that after the initial flurry of kind of interest, thought for the day in terms of Flemington Hallside has kind of gradually just kind of petered out in terms of folks tuning in. So what we need to do, I'm going to do it on Sunday and hopefully the Sunday after, I'm going to be focusing on the fact that our responsibility as we go into December is to journey with Christ through the month to the point where we actually get to the 25th and remember who he is and what he's done. So, how are we going to do that? The main thing is a book. I've got it online, so I can't hold it up and show it to you. It's a thing from the Good Book, the Good Book Company. George Mathis, who is a minister over in America. The Christmas We Didn't Expect. It's just 25 readings, working our way from the first, the December the 1st to the 25th. And it just goes through the standard components of the story, but hopefully will bring out different aspects and things for us to think about. What I'm wanting you to do is to encourage others to tune in. If they haven't tuned in for a few months, then recognize this is Advent and we are supposed to, in some fashion, quietly wait on God and seek him out. There's other things I've got. This is just, again, this is me in as much as I've often done the kind of Advent kind of devotional thing myself. And what I realize is over the years, I have got kind of hung up about it has to be biblical. It has to be, I don't want it to be non-biblical, but what I realize is biblical doesn't always mean that you just quote from a passage. You can start from all kinds of sources. You can start with art, you can start with poetry, there's different things. So one of the things that I've got this year, this is, I mean, the honest answer is I don't know exactly how this is going to be. This is a selection by Janet Morley, basically a poem for every day in Advent, from Advent to Epiphany. So it goes a bit beyond the 25th. I won't be reading from this every day, but there might be times when there's a poem just kind of strikes me a bit more kind of pointedly than what we're doing out of the book by George Mathis. The other thing is I've got this one. This is a book by Tom Wright, always worth reading. It's his focus, I mean, it's a devotional, so it's kind of starts, he's very liturgical. So this is the first Sunday in Advent. So that would be the last Sunday in November. And he would start, the thing is, he's going through various parts of Matthew. So he starts with Matthew 24 and works his way through. Well, there's the parable of the weeds and the beginning of the birth pangs. He's going through Christ's ministry as it kind of illustrates and kind of points towards the significance of his birth. The point, he's also got one on Luke, which I might end up buying, but I'm not sure. The point is, I think you get to the, I think you don't get to the Christmas story with Tom Wright until, so that's like the fourth Sunday in Advent. In other words, he's coming at it from a slightly broader perspective. And there's, as I say, there's different ways of coming into it. If you could text me, you could leave a note in the YouTube. Basically, the main thing is, if you don't choose daily to kind of work your way towards the stable for yourself, then it's actually quite difficult to sort of avoid the whole process of getting to Christmas to become quite a secular thing. If it's going to remain what it should be, a spiritual thing, then you have to choose to make it that way. So what I'm saying is, do that yourself, share that with others. Whatever you do, you can't just meander into Advent and kind of hope that you're going to see enough Christmas cards and enough wrapping paper and enough tinsel that you'll get that tingly feeling and Christmas will be somehow become real. There is no guarantee. There's not even ultimately a guarantee if you decide to do the Bible readings. It's just you get a better chance. And so that's what I'm basically saying. Can we prepare for Advent? We will probably have a whole lot of preparations with regard to Christmas Day. Even this year, there will be the meal, the presents, the wrapping paper. There's be a whole lot of things that we have to get done for that particular day. It seems, relatively speaking, a small price to pay to intentionally focus on what Christmas is meant to be for Christians. A time for waiting, a time, well, the passage in the Old, is it Isaiah? The people who were in darkness have seen a great light. Well, I definitely think 2020 counts. Box ticked. We have been a people who have been in a real time of darkness. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Yeah, well, there's a vaccine coming. But even the vaccine, we should recognize our human condition is still the same. We take our own path, we go our own way, and we come a cropper. It is as we intentionally and focused, and in a focused way, come back to the path that God wants us to follow. Generally in our life, and specifically as we come to Advent, that is how we get to Boxing Day and say, I actually feel closer to Christ. So what I'm saying is, begin and to think about it. So you may actually want to have your own resources. You might not like the ones I've chosen. I mean, they're just ultimately takes you through the Christmas story. But hopefully we can do so in a focused way and get the benefit. See you on Sunday. We've got our last service focused on the attributes, the characteristics of God. We're looking at the fact that God is good, which you would say is a given, but needs to get stated. And then the Sunday after that is the last Sunday in November, and we'll be looking at, well, that's the first Sunday in Advent, so we'll begin the focus. Hope you can join us. Hope you can be with us. Most importantly, be part of the journey towards towards Christmas. Sorry, we'll get to Easter in due course, 2021. But be part of the process, because if you don't intentionally choose, Christmas ends up just being this empty thing that isn't really what it was meant to be. Until then, go with God, because I know God goes with you. And remember, Friday, you can still get a haircut.